Hey, y'all, welcome into a special therapy session edition of WWL Radio's live chat series. My name is Jeff Nowak, WWL digital sports producer, and I figured it'd be a good time to sit down and just talk it out. let's talk about some of these issues that have been plaguing the Saints the last few weeks, and we saw what happened today: 40-29, Eagles victory in Philadelphia. The Saints have lost 3 games in a row for the first time since the 2016 season. That was the first 3 weeks of the season. The Saints went 9-7 that year. It was that run of 9-7 seasons that we all remember, not so fondly, I think. But here we are again, and it is a very different situation this time around, because this time around, no surprise to anyone, you don't have Drew Brees in the building. You don't have Drew Brees coming in to save the day when things go awry, and they have been going awry more often than not on the offensive side of the ball. Now, there are a lot of questions to be answered on the Saints end as far as how they want their offense to operate. There aren't going to be a lot of answers walking in the door for the Saints, especially at the quarterback position. And at the wide receiver position. The Odell Beckham Jr. would have been a great addition. I can't say I blame him for not choosing to be featured in an offense that has been anemic, to say the least, to this point in the season. And if I'm him, I look at that situation. I'm like, I'm playing for a contract. I don't need to be figuring out if Trevor Siemian's the guy. The Saints need to figure out if Trevor Siemian's the guy. I need to go win football games. And that's what he did. He went out to LA. They have their own issues they're trying to deal with. They're getting out physicaled, I think, more often than not the last few weeks. But I understand why he did that, and it's because the Saints look rudderless on offense. They look like a team that doesn't really understand how to get themselves figured out before they can incorporate any new toys into that operation. And that's where we are today. I agree that Trevor Siemian has played fine. He's played okay. He's played league average at quarterback over the last few weeks. And that should be enough to win games for the Saints, because, I've heard a lot of takes about the defense today. They let up 40 points. No defense is going to look good when the offense is putting them in bad positions. And that's what happened today. To win with this Saints roster, you need to be able to operate on offense and not turn the ball over, not put your team in bad situations. And throwing a pick six is about the worst situation you could possibly have put yourself in. I mean, seriously, like, there are a lot of ways this Saints team can win games. None of them involve the offense giving up points. This is not a team that can overcome the offense giving up points. It's just not. And that's what happened today. If the Saints go into halftime even down 20-7, they have a chance to win today. If they go down 20-10, 20-14, that's a different ballgame. I think the Saints win. Going down 20, I'm sorry, what was the score at halftime? I think it was 27-7 at the break. You're not winning that game. The odds of a Trevor Siemian-led offense scoring 28 points is already low to begin with. So you have put yourself in a terrible situation. And that's what's happened each of the last 3 weeks. And while Trevor Siemian has not played ostensibly poorly, he hasn't been a bad quarterback. He has been very ineffective in the first quarter, the first half, the first 3 quarters of today. And it's put the Saints in situations where their only option is to try to figure out a 10, 15, 20-point comeback. And that's just not going to happen a lot of the time. You pull that off once every 5 times you have a chance to do it. That's great. The Saints haven't done it in 3 games, but they shouldn't be putting themselves in that situation. But that's my rant. Let's see what y'all are saying. Make sure if you throw a comment, question, whatever in the chat, I'll pop it up and get to it. No QB play. Can't be mad. Let Sean do what he want to do. Yeah, it's frustrating to say the least, and it's more frustrating because it's nobody's fault, right? You can't blame anybody for Jameis Winston. You could maybe blame Devin White for a questionable tackle in that Bucks game, but you can't blame Jameis Winston for getting hurt. You can't blame the Saints for not having a viable backup once he went down. Most teams wouldn't. I think most teams in the NFL, if they lost their starting quarterback, having, with, maybe like the Packers, a team that spent, kind of a ridiculous first round pick on a quarterback, that notwithstanding, most teams would struggle. Most teams would miss the playoffs losing their starting quarterback. The Saints are in a weird position because Jameis Winston has only been the starting quarterback for 6 games when he went down, right? Like, he's not the guy. He's not a franchise quarterback. He's on a 1-year deal. So you have a little bit of the question baked in already. So you have kind of suitable guys who can go in. But that said, Trevor Siemian was never the guy the Saints envisioned to be leading this offense to the playoffs. It just isn't the case. And that kind of leads me to the larger point of, if Taysom Hill's healthy, you have to put him in there. You have to give him a chance. I mean, if Trevor Siemian is the best option, we'll find out pretty quickly. But I think Taysom Hill could also lead this offense to 7 points through 3 quarters. Taysom Hill could also do all those things. Taysom could throw 2 interceptions. And if the only reason you have Trevor Siemian out there is because, you want to keep Taysom in his role, that role is what keeps getting him hurt, right? So if you're not going to have Taysom because he keeps getting hurt in that role, maybe it is more valuable. That's been my argument from day one is, Taysom Hill is too valuable in that Swiss Army knife role to kind of outvalue himself by being only a quarterback. But Taysom Hill on the field is more valuable than Taysom Hill off the field. And if that role is what keeps him off the field because he's constantly getting hurt, then maybe maybe there is some intrinsic value in putting him out there. And at this point, I don't see how it could get worse, right? One of the things that Taysom Hill can do that Trevor Siemian can't, obviously, is move. And when you have wide receivers that struggle to get open, that's value. That's something that he can do differently. He's going to get different looks. You won't see as much man-to-man with Taysom, or at least not the type of kind of soft man-to-man at the top. You might see some, crowded boxes with man-to-man on the edges, which is still going to present a problem. But, without that safety help over the top, it's going to be easier to beat. So I think that is where you have to go if you're the Saints. I don't know if that's something you do on a short week, though. That's the question. You have to play again on Thursday. Yeah, we got a lot of Trevor Siemian hot takes. Yeah, I mean, here's my thing. I'm not putting this exclusively on Trevor Siemian, although I do think that he played poorly today for long stretches. The pick 6 was inexcusable. You can't throw that ball. You can't not see Darius Slay, right? There are always guys on a defense that you have to keep an eye out for, and Darius Slay is unquestionably that guy for the Eagles. I mean, he scored a touchdown last week. You know who Darius Slay is, and I don't know if that's the call. That's where you're going on a quick out to try to move the ball and save clock. But he saw it coming and he knew it was there. And Trevor Siemian had no idea Darius Slay was sitting there waiting. And if you're making those types of decisions, then it doesn't make sense to have Trevor Siemian out there. And he played poorly today. I still don't think it was all on him. Again, these pass catchers are really struggling. And I just think that a guy with a little more mobility that can extend a play a little longer, like you saw with Jalen Hurts today, not the best passer in the world, but he can extend the play. He can allow guys a little extra time to create that separation. And I think there's value there, even if he's not like pure quarterback wise, the better quarterback. I think that just when it comes to being able to stack first downs and just create first downs, he's the right guy to have in there. And it's just a question of, is he good enough to get to the playoffs? I don't know either. I don't know that either, but the way things are going on offense right now, it's not a good enough offense to make the playoffs anyway. So you got to try something. Hell, I'd be fine with Ian Book. I just want to see something different. I want to see changes in some way to try to just, grease the skids a little bit, because it just seems like an offense in a rut until the other team goes into prevent, and then it opens up. But yeah, the offensive line was an issue today, although I don't think it was as big of an issue as it could have been. They struggled early. There was a few plays that they got just kind of turned, like they were a turnstile early in the game. I thought they played pretty well in the second half. And I say that relatively speaking, right? I say that full well understanding that this is 3 backup offensive linemen. The fact that they gave Trevor Siemian time at all to work is better than it could have been. We could have had a repeat of week 2, which was a similar situation. and that didn't happen today. So they deserve some credit. Landon Young, he got his lumps a little bit, obviously, especially early in the game. That holding penalty almost cost them their only touchdown of the first half. But Adam Troutman, and a guy who I thought stepped up really big today, maybe having Nick Vannett back, lit a fire under him. But, I thought he was really good. So there are some positives, right? I thought Mark Ingram was solid outside that fumble. Fumble was brutal. But Tony Jones Jr. played. It's good to have him back. He wasn't particularly effective, but he did play, so that's good. But, the offense, I'm hoping, here's my hope. I'll tell you my hope. My hope is that the reason you saw so many absences today was because the Saints were planning for a short week, right? You had guys who were dinged up who probably could have gone today. At least I'm guessing there's a chance they could have gone today. But knowing you have to play again on Thursday and knowing the matchup you have on Thursday, it just didn't make sense to push it. And you kind of just had to decide, would you rather have those guys against Philadelphia or would you rather have them against Buffalo? Because I think in a lot of instances, you probably weren't going to get both. Because when you're trying to play through an injury, you need the extra recovery time, and then we're going to get it. That's what I'm hoping for. That's just my conjecture. But I'm hoping you see Teron and Ryan out there again, or back out there on Thursday, because that was the case. If not, it could get ugly. Yeah, I know that there's going to be a lot of takes about the defense. It's supposed to be a title caliber defense. I've been saying all year this is a title caliber defense. How do you allow 40 points to title caliber defense? How do you allow 200 yards rushing? And, I think this defense has areas it can grow. It didn't handle the run game well at all in the first half. And I think that they just struggle with the type of quarterback and the type of offense that the Eagles are running out there, which is, that zone read. They want to get upfield. They want to get after the quarterback. And what the zone read does is it really just slows you down. It forces you to sit back and contain. It forces you to watch rather than drive at the quarterback, then just get upfield. And so just in that sense, it takes away something that the Saints do probably better than anyone, right? So, why are they so effective when they're trying to contain Tom Brady and not when they're trying to contain Jalen Hurts, when they're trying to contain Daniel Jones? Taylor Heineke had a good game in a similar way. And, I don't think that it's a surprise that this kind of really stout pass rush group struggles against guys that just freeze the rush. It frees the rush and it forces you to play coverage. It forces you to just run yourself ragged trying to keep track of it. And, these guys are playing with discipline too. If you watched Cam Jordan throughout the game, there are a lot of plays that he was just tracking Jalen Hurts out of the backfield and not even running toward him. He was just running parallel with him. And, that's good discipline. That's good coaching. It's good fundamentals. It's tiring. And, I thought the Saints defense played really well in the second half. Once the offense stopped putting them in terrible situations, they were able to make some headway. They slowed down the run game. They forced a few punts. They gave the offense a chance. And then that final drive, it got away from them. I think they were exhausted by that point. And, there's always a point where the exhaustion gets the better of you. And Jalen Hurts does a good job. He's a good quarterback. But I don't think that what we saw from the defense is a red flag per se. I mean, you knew they were going to have some issues without CJ Gardner-Johnson in the middle of the field. When you're facing an offense that's going to just hit you with body blow after body blow after body blow, which is what the Eagles were doing in the first half. You need depth along the defensive line, and they didn't really have it. You don't have Peyton Turner. He's on IR. You don't have Tano Passanio. He was out hurt. You don't have Jalen Brunson, also out hurt. And, I think that toward the end, you saw them kind of wear down. When you see drives get extended, that's when you start to notice that, especially later in the game. They were able to force the 3 and outs, and you have that energy you can sustain for 3 plays. You don't always have that energy you can sustain for 6, 7, 9, 10, 12 plays. And that's what happened, I think, in the second half. But I don't think this defense, I thought Marcus Williams had an excellent day. I thought Bradley Roby made some nice plays. He was sent on a blitz. He's kind of become the third down nickelback, which, I don't think that's what was envisioned for him initially, but not a bad guy to have out there. Malcolm Jenkins had a solid day, not a great day. The pass rush was frozen a lot, I think, and that's just what happens when you're dealing with that read option. You got to be able to stop it, and they couldn't in the first half. But it's so much of being a lockdown defense is just being able to get on the field in a good situation and to turn that situation into a good situation for your offense, right? You're not always going to get a turnover, although they did today. They got one down at the goal line. They almost got a second one. I think the refs had a bit of a quick whistle on that second one by Miles Sanders. But, you're not always going to get those plays. So you just need to rely on your offense. I've had people say, well, the defense is supposed to carry the offense. You can't always do that as a great defense because you are relying on the offense putting you in the field in an advantageous situation, right? There's nothing the defense could have done about that pick six. They were on the sideline. They were watching it just like everybody else. There's nothing they could have done about Mark Ingram putting the ball on the ground. There's nothing they could have done about Trevor Siemian underthrowing Adam Trautman by about 20 yards and having that ball picked off because he didn't see the sinking linebacker. And when you're thrown on the field and you're thrown on in a short field, it's a quick change. That's always going to be tough for a defense, and they didn't handle it well. Some teams handle it better than others. The Saints have not handled that well this season, and you know that. And you have to, as an offense, understand if Trevor Siemian is going to throw those interceptions, we're going to lose this game. And that's what happened today. Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between an offense not moving the ball very well and not possessing the ball and giving it away 3 times, right? If you're moving the ball, I had someone kind of tell me, oh, well, the Chiefs don't have a great offense, but blah, blah, blah. The Chiefs won today against the Cowboys. They struggled too, but they can move the ball at will when they need to. They scored touchdowns on 2 of their first 3 possessions today. The Saints scored 1 touchdown in the first 3 quarters, and it was set up by a fumble inside the 5-yard line. That's the offense that you saw today. No defense is going to be that good where if you're that anemic on offense and you turn the ball over 3 times, you're winning the game. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. If you have an offense that's winning, if you have an offense that's playing winning football, and you turn the ball over, you can outlast some of that stuff. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen with this team, not this year. The offense can't turn the ball over. It can't. It just simply cannot. You can maybe get away with one. That Mark Ingram fumble in the second half, you might be able to get away with it. You're not going to win games if Trevor Siemian is giving possessions away. And that's the whole point of this kind of subdued Saints offense is to limit turnovers and to play smart and allow the defense a chance to win a game for you. And they have not allowed the defense to do that. Right? It's just plain and simple. That's what's happened. And the last 3 weeks, you've allowed yourself to get into a 20-point hole. I have been impressed with Trevor Siemian's fourth quarter magic. I think a lot of quarterbacks are a little better, once the field kind of opens up and they can operate like that. But I just don't see it. I don't see an offense that looks like it can win games as it's running. So that's my concern. Let the season. Danny's ready to call it a year. 5-5, death sentence. Let the season end. I don't know what that means. Go get draft picks, sign. I assume that's Aaron Rodgers or Wilson, and trade Thomas. That's quite a long wish list. Have you looked at the standings? Honest question, because 5-5. I'm pretty sure the Saints are still going to be in the playoffs. They might be on the wrong end of a tiebreaker, but worst case scenario, they're tied with 2 teams for a wild card spot right now. So I don't think they're ready to quit on the season. They come back next week and win a game for 4 days from now, even. They're right there. We don't know what's going to happen with the Bucs yet this week. They play the Giants on Monday night. They're 6-3. If they get to 7-4, the Saints are 5-5. That's a bit of a cushion, but the Saints do have the first half of that tiebreaker. So it's, that second game in Tampa. If it's a 2-game cushion, you get 1 back. You're only 1 behind because you own the tiebreaker. I think it's far from over. I don't know why you would phone in the season just yet, but I do think you have to go outside the box and see what happens. You're not getting any new receivers walking in the door. You're not getting Michael Thomas back. Something's got to give, in my opinion. Yeah, I've been disappointed in Marquez Callaway. Just specifically, I had a really, and it's not, it's probably unfair because he's a second-year guy. He was undrafted. But I probably had unrealistic expectations for what Marquez Callaway was going to be able to do, especially in terms of just getting open. He does make some really spectacular catches. He seems to be the go-to guy in the fourth quarter for some reason. It's like the clock flips over to the fourth quarter, and suddenly Trevor Siemian to Marquez Callaway is the best connection you've ever seen. Caught a touchdown today, saving his fantasy value one last ditch touchdown effort at a time. But yeah, I've been disappointed with his performance. I've been wondering all season what Lil Jordan Humphrey did to work himself out of the rotation entirely. But he got a chance today. I thought he played pretty well. He made a couple nice catches. He had a touchdown late in the game on the type of throw that Saints receivers have not been able to catch all year. That little back shoulder throw. Maybe that's something. Maybe you can build off that and get him a little more involved. Not having Kamara, it just makes everything more difficult for the receivers because he just draws so much attention. You saw in the Seahawks game, he was getting bracketed in the second half as a receiver. And not having that makes things difficult. Mark Ingram's a good pass catcher. He's not a great pass catcher. He's very much a running back that catches passes, whereas Alvin Kamara has receiver type skills. Mark Ingram can catch. He's a good guy to get in space, but he's not running, complex routes. He's not a guy you want to send on a choice route. And I think that's been very limiting the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I'm not going to dive into the future quarterback of the Saints who may or may not be playing on another team. Just not going to do it. I'm going to talk about this year's team because I think this year's team still has a very good chance to make the playoffs. They're 5-5. You know how many teams are better than 5-5 in the NFC right now? Let's look. I'm pretty sure it's 4, but I want to double check that. In the NFC, teams better than 5-5. The Cowboys, who got steamrolled, I think would be a fair way to say it, against the Chiefs today. The Chiefs didn't put up a ton of points, but the Cowboys offense looked, I don't know, like a team I haven't seen yet. It's the only team in the NFC East over 500. Cardinals are 9-2. Rams are 7-3. Packers are 8-3. Bucks are 6-3. So it's 5 teams. There are 5 teams currently in the NFL with records better than 500, better than 5-5. 4 of those teams are division winners. So they get in. There are 3 more wild card spots. They can do the math there. There's only one team outside of the division leaders that currently has a record better than 500, aka that currently has a record better than the Saints. So we're giving up on this year. I mean, Saints are not the only team with questions, right? The Bills are coming in here on Thanksgiving. Lost 2 straight, 3 straight. I mean, they've fallen off a cliff. They're not in much better situation than the Saints are. They're not first in their division. Patriots have taken over the AFC East, So the Cowboys are coming in here the week after that. They just got embarrassed today. So what I'm saying is things can change quickly in the NFL. The important thing is you make the right decisions, you make the right adjustments, and you figure out what's going wrong. You fail fast, and you figure out how to win games. I don't know how much confidence the Saints have in Trevor Siemian long term. And by long term, I mean the rest of the season. But it feels like if Taysom Hill is healthy, he's the quarterback. He's the starting quarterback next week on Thursday. Sean Payton said that he was the starting quarterback, or he was the backup quarterback today. He was healthy, which and I will toot my own horn here. What I said before the game was I expected him to be healthy. I expected him to be active, even if he was unable to play in his normal role, because having him out there, just having him standing on the sideline, just makes you account for him. Once it became clear he wasn't coming in the game, that changed. And Sean Payton said he was essentially serving as the backup quarterback, which is usually the role for, Ian Book or Trevor Siemian on game days, because he would be in his dual role, but he was not going to do that today. So he was the backup. So he was holding a clipboard, he had the mic in his ear. And to me, that indicates that they're trying to keep him healthy, right? They're trying to keep him ready to go, which is what I would do if I was considering putting him in as the starting quarterback. Because what you don't want to do is decide to make that change and have to go to Taysom Hill, who is 60%, 70%, right? You don't want to set him up to fail if you're going to do that. To me, that's an indicator. And like I said before, I think Taysom Hill, you want him healthy. And if the only way to do that is to have him be the starting quarterback, then I think you do it. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, there's going to be wins on the schedule. I think Trevor Siemian can win games. I think the Eagles are a good football team. I think they're much better than their record indicates. I think Nick Sirianni's done a good job. But one way or another, I think you're going to have to make a decision. And I think you'd rather do it now. You'd rather do it now than later in the season because, if you have to reverse course for whatever reason, you want to have all the information. And especially, a short week, Trevor Siemian's going to have to recover. Taysom doesn't. So he might be in a better position to prepare for this week, knowing that he's going to be the starter if he is. So that's how that's my read on it. Right. That's my question. Yeah. And if the alternative is getting him out there in the Swiss Army knife role, which continually gets him hurt, and there's just not a ton of value there. So I agree there. Yeah, we went over this a little earlier. If you want to catch the replay and go back through it, feel free. But yeah, I mean, I disagree with this. I wouldn't put the first two losses squarely on Trevor Siemian, or at least significantly on Trevor Siemian, because I think the receivers let him down, or missed extra points, all that. The roughing call, all that kind of played into that game in Tennessee. But today, in my opinion, Trevor Siemian lost the Saints this football game. That's my opinion. He played well at the end. I think Trevor Siemian, if you can say nothing else about Trevor Siemian, you can say that he does not get rattled at all. I mean, he was looking at 33-7, and there was a point midway through the fourth quarter where it looked like the Saints were going to come all the way back. I think there was 10 minutes left, and they got the ball back down 14. They ended up settling for a field goal and got to 11. It's the closest they got. But, I think his ability to just kind of stick with it and rally is impressive. It honestly is. It legitimately is. And these aren't garbage. You can call it garbage time. It wasn't garbage time when they came back and took the lead against Atlanta. That's not garbage time. It wasn't garbage time last week when they had a 2-point conversion attempt to tie the game. That's not garbage time. That's a rally. That's a comeback. Today, you could argue it was garbage time. But even so, they still had a chance. And you have to give them credit for that. But I think it's time for the long-lost Manning brother to, be throwing about as many passes as the Manning brothers do these days. And that's just, I think you get your chance, 0-3 as the backup. It's not like he didn't have a chance, in my opinion. Like, you got 3 games. You went 0-3. It's probably unfair because Saints fans and myself have become accustomed to the Saints winning with backups constantly. That's just something they've done a lot of, and they have not this year after, week 8. But I think it would be a shame to watch this season go off the rails more, I don't think it's off the rails yet. I think it's getting close. It would be a shame to watch this season go completely off the rails and never even get a chance to see the guy who was said to be, one quarterback competition away from being the guy. Right? The offseason quarterback competition wasn't Taysom Hill and Jameis and Trevor Siemian. It was Taysom Hill and Jameis. So why now? Why now are you not comfortable putting him in there? And you could say, hey, we wanted to see Trevor Siemian, and fine. That's fine. 0-3, and whether it's his fault or not, the record, you are what the record says you are. And right now, Trevor Siemian's 0-3 as a Saints starting quarterback. How long do you let it go? I'd say 3. And that's where I'm at. Yeah, that was brutal. I mean, 10 points in the second half. We've seen Trevor Siemian. I want to see Trevor Siemian play in a fourth quarter where he doesn't need a 20-point comeback. He only needs a 10-point comeback. All of a sudden, the Saints win by 2 scores because he's so good at bringing them back. But you also have to look at the part of the game where he led the offense and they ended up in a 20-point hole. And that pick six was a big reason why. The Eagles offense didn't really move the ball in the second half. The Saints the Eagles offense didn't move the ball a ton. They ran the ball very well, but they settled for field goals. Their 17 points came off turnovers. 7 of those points came directly on a turnover. And that's where the game really got away. Just befuddled. He meant Camel. Steve meant Camel. I knew what you meant. Why does everyone call him Taysom? I don't notice that. Is that like a thing? I've noticed that on Facebook a lot. People say write Taysom, and I'm not sure if it's like a typo or an autocorrect. It's Taysom. Give him some snaps. Give him some chances at the starting job. Anyway, all right. I think that's going to be it for me. I think I've gone through all the questions here. I appreciate everyone who stopped by, dropped in a comment and a question. It was very civil. I appreciate that. I don't have great lighting once the sun goes down. So as you can see, my green screen behind me is struggling. But again, my name is Jeff Nowak, WWL digital sports producer. Thanks everyone who follows throughout the game, who reads my content, who reaches out. So I always appreciate that. Make sure to check out WWL Radio, AM 870, FM 1053, and the Odyssey app. Make sure to check us out over on Twitter at WWL AM FM. And go over and subscribe on YouTube if you're not watching there right now. The channel's below. Make sure to check that out. And head over to odyssey.com/WWL for all the latest content, news, analysis, Bobby Hebert's hot take off the game, his rant. That's what the word I was looking for. I forgot. And we'll go from there. Another game on Thursday. Thank you, Steve. Another game on Thursday. Get right back at it. Not a lot of time to dwell. So I hope this therapy session was helpful. It's helpful for me. Talk through some stuff. Anyway, peace, y'all.